What's up YouTube, capital G here. Got a very interesting topic to discuss in this video. I like it because it's one that actually challenges your deck building ability. I got this one online where a guy was asking what deck he should run for a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament, and I was like, okay, that seems fairly standard. The kicker was, he said that his tournament organizer stated that you could only run common cards at this tournament. Now obviously when you hear that, you think, oh shit, well clearly that throws a monkey wrench into everything, because that eliminates pretty much every single tier 1 deck, most of probably the tier 2, maybe even the entire tier 2. It takes out most of the common hand traps that are being played right now: Ash Blossom, Winter Cherry, Cyframe Gamma. I guess you could also consider the Ghost Ogre. Yeah, that's another one that's only available in high rarity. And I thought, man, this could actually be fairly interesting if you could kind of only run low rarity cards at a tournament. How could you conceivably build a deck? Like seeing who could be the best deck builder, seeing what the meta would actually be at said event. Like that would be very interesting. And I kind of want to talk about a hypothetical situation where you could only run comments at a Yu-Gi-Oh event. What deck would you run and why exactly would you run that? Now, I wanted to make the rules a little bit different than his PTO. His PTO wanted essentially cards that were only available in common rarity. Like if a card had been printed 2 times and they were both in common, you could use that card. But if it was something like Mystical Space Typhoon, where MST has been printed in like almost every damn rarity you could possibly think of, and it obviously has a common printing, MST would be out because it has Ultra and Ghost and Secret Rare printings. Now I think that that's kind of ludicrous, because now it's like, bro, you're just eliminating too many cards. So I think that if you had it so where the card would be available if it just had a common reprint, you probably would have a lot of good cards still in your card pool. You'd have things like Dark Hole, Maxi, Effect Veiler, Dark or DD Crow for like hand traps and whatnot. You'd also have Cosmic Cyclone for removal, MST, Dimensional Barrier. Like I feel like you'd have a pretty good healthy card pool, but so many of the broken archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh just would not be playable there. And I kind of came up with a list of decks, but it's really interesting because not only are none of these fairly, like none of these are really what I would consider like high tier meta decks, except maybe one of them, but every one of these decks except probably one has a big fundamental flaw attached to it. So let's go ahead and break down some of the decks that I think you probably could consider if you were going to play in a hypothetical made-up tournament like this. The first one was Paleozoic. I feel like Paleo would be very strong because it would probably be the only deck where you would get like dual utility out of your monsters, obviously being able to summon them back from the graveyard. If you did Xyz, I don't know what Xyz you'd go into, because obviously the Paleo Xyz are just out of the question. You wouldn't have Totally Awesome either. If you could find some common Xyz, you could get that super use out of your monsters. It'd be weird because I think you'd have to run Paleozoic as a Wetlands beatdown deck, which would be really just funny. I think that DESKBOT, in my opinion, would be the strongest deck for this entire tournament. DESKBOT, the entire archetype is printed as common. Also, Machine Duplication is common form as well. And DESKBOT is only, it's like the only deck that I have listed that can consistently OTK. So DESKBOT would be like an offensive juggernaut in this tournament. It'd be the only deck where most of the hand traps that people are going to play in that event, if they even played hand traps at all, like I don't even think that they would stop DESKBOT. If you maxi DESKBOT, DESKBOT's just like, we're just going to keep on going after this Machine Duplication and kill you. I think Barrier Statues could be pretty interesting because the entire Barrier Statue lineup is common, and some of the good protection cards are common as well. Forbidden Lance, Moon Mirror Shield would make it so that you could kind of dominate anything in the battle phase. You also had the Phantom Knight Wings, which, I mean, I played that in my regional build. Phantom Knight Sword would not be available. That does kind of suck because it is. I think it's a better version of Wings, but you still would have all your Barrier Statues to stun your opponent, and you'd have a decent amount of protection. You also could go outside the box, maybe go a little bit old school, go back to like maybe the Zexo 5D's days, and you could run something like a Chaos Stun variant. Thunder King Ryo is common. DOOMCALIBER Knight is common. You wouldn't be able to run Blackluster Soldier because he is only, you know, high rarity. He's only like Ultra and Secret Rare, but you would be able to run 3 copies of Chaos Sorcerer. And when you think of this very low condensed card pool format, something like Chaos Sorcerer could be a meta-defining, like, or not meta-defining, tournament-defining, you know, card. Like, that could be the boss monster of that event, when it's so easy to summon, and you're basically summoning it after your stun cards have already, you know, grinded down your opponent, and they don't have a lot of resources. Also, targeting would probably be very big at this tournament, because your Magic Specters, your Cosmos ships, your Spiral, like, those decks are probably not going to be there because it's too many high rarity cards. Another one that I think would be extremely good, probably top 3, would be DINOMIST. And I say that because DINOMIST does lose a couple of cards. You lose DINOMIST Rex, and the more important card in my opinion, I don't think Rex is really that big of a deal. I think you can perfectly do fine with a DINOMIST deck, not even including Rex, but losing Petrion, that one's kind of big. But DINOMIST would probably be the only dominant pendulum deck that you see there. I'm not going to count DESKBOT as a pendulum deck. They got pendulums, but it's not really a pendulum deck. So you'd get the high ceiling from the pendulum summon. You could also have your DINOMIST Howling that bounces cards. That'd be another thing that'd be amazing. And it could just, I don't know, I feel like a pendulum deck would just be incredibly strong with there being no anti-spell fragrance, like no twin twisters. How you gonna crack pendulum scales, man? It seems really good, unless, I don't know, somebody's playing a deck that just have massive backer removal, playing like Breaker and stuff like that. Monarchs could be another contender, but I don't think it's the Monarch version people are accustomed to playing, right? I say that because I don't think Domain Monarchs would work, because you don't have Erebus, you don't have Aether, and you don't have either Squire. Like, you don't have Edea. So really, what's the point of playing Domain Monarchs? You can't run Pantheism, because that's only a super rare. I mean, you have the other Monarch spells and traps, but when you lose all that, like when you lose so many of those cards, I kind of wonder if it's even worth playing Domain. So the build of Monarchs I'm actually thinking about is going back to 5Ds and playing Frog Monarchs with maybe some of the new cards in it. Like, maybe you could you know, put Prime in there or something like that. But the Frog Monarch version would actually work. You could just play the small Monarchs, and the reason I say it would work is all your main frogs, Duke Frog, Treeborn Frog, you know, Ronin Totem, those cards are all available in common, and obviously the Monarchs are as well. Another deck, the deck that people kind of hyped up about over the last week or so, GREN MAJU Banished deck. Yeah, you could probably run that. The only card that you give up, and I don't know if it's so important that you shouldn't even run the deck anymore, is Pot of Desires. Without Pot of Desires, man, getting that GREN MAJU super high would be a lot slower. But with that said, you have every single card, like every other one of your core cards that you think about when you think of those banished decks, all of them are like common. You've got Eater of Millions, you have GREN MAJU, you have your copies of Necroface, which I actually thought Necroface wasn't printed as a common, had to look it up. Yeah, there's a common Necroface. Defissure, Macrocosmos, like all of those cards are common. For the degenerate players out there, yes, this would probably be my second highest ranked deck. Chainburn would be up there, man. I think Chainburn would be so strong in an event like this, because everything, like all of those burn cards are available in common, and Chainburn obviously is going to have a huge game one just advantage. And with there being even without there being carded demise in the format, that's not going to matter, because you can still play 3 Reckless Greed, you can still play Pot of Duality, which is printed as a common, and you'd still have the accumulated fortune. So I think that no deck would just be able to outspeed Chainburn, except maybe DESKBOTs. DESKBOTs get you sleeping with Royal Decree and just OTK you. So I think DESKBOTs would be able to fuck up Chainburn pretty good. There is a possibility of you playing GRAYDLE. GRAYDLE would not have GRAYDLE Slime, and you wouldn't have GRAYDLE Dragon. I think losing Dragon's not that important. Losing Slime could be a little important. I think you'd have to play GRAYDLE as kind of like a little bit of a control, kind of mini beatdown, where you're just taking your opponent's monsters. I think if you hit Impact really early, especially if you can use it with GRAYDLE Gator, pop your opponent's back row and then snatch steal their monster and kill them with their own monster, because there wouldn't be that much removal in this hypothetical format. No Kaijus at all, no Regeki, no Interrupted Slumbers, so you're not going to see any of those cards like Dark Hole, and everything else is like Torrential and Mirror Forces. And then the deck that I would go with, and you guys would be like, what the freak? I would go with Formula Athletes, just because this is like the only chance to actually run them and have success. I looked up Marshalling Field. Unfortunately, immediately that card that is absolutely amazing in FA. It's only printed as a secret rare. It's like a 20-cent secret, but it's only available as a secret rare, so you can't even play like the best like support card that is not even technically for them. But I still like FA because you have 8 cards. The entire archetype is not based around any extra deck mechanic, because D barrier would be legal in this tournament, and I would be main decking 3 barrier like crazy. I think that FA would be like the only time where FA could actually do something. There was one deck I kind of wanted to play, which was Prediction Princess, because Terra Tray plus the one flip one that matters. There's like 5 Prediction Princesses, but only one of them kind of matters outside of Terra Tray. Plus Pot of the Forbidden, like those are all commons, but without having like Preparation of Rites or mainly pre-preparation of rites, like I feel like no ritual deck is even if I can't have either one of those, like I don't even want to fucking play a ritual deck. Even though I get the Manju, the Sanju, the Sonic Bird, I just feel like it's not even worth it. And I think this would be kind of cool because so many decks would be limited. There's so many decks that are like close, like Battery Man, but then you look, oh, Fuel Cells are rare. Fuel Cell is a rare, so I can't run that. You look at something like Battling Boxer, like, or Luna Lights. All the main deck monsters are like, you know, common, but oops, the extra deck cards are all hollow. It's like, well, can't run that either. So just a little fun topic to think about. What do you guys think? Any of these decks pique your interest, or would you run something else completely? Let me know why in the comment section, and let me know what deck you guys would run. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on those notifications for daily videos.